An important note to remember is that assessment is more than testing. In the second presentation, we will investigate observation. We view learning in the foundation phase as a developmental process. Our focus is on formative assessment, where observation is a key method. Good observation forms the basis of assessment. How do you interpret and use observation? What is observation? Observation is more than just looking. It is using all your senses in an organized and planned way in order to gather information about learners. Observation plays an important role in assessment either by replacing or by supplementing other assessment methods. In fact, as Gordon and Brown, 2008 writes, one can only assess on the basis of good observation. Observation influences how you organize the environment. Observation allows you to consider how and when you need to change it. Observation influences your daily plans, how you choose certain activities and reject others. And finally, observation allows you to make sense of and respond to the way learners react to you and towards each other in the teaching and learning environment. In order to have reliable, valid, and meaningful observations, you need to train yourself to record or write down what you see or hear on a regular basis. Know the difference between essential and non-essential detail, and be aware of possible bias that might lead to inaccurate observations. The ability to observe objectively, that is, without bias or prejudice, is an essential part of the professional character of the foundation phase teacher. What tools does one use for observation? You can develop your own checklists where you know why you want to observe your learners. You need to know the purpose of the observation. You also need to know what your learners have to do to demonstrate that they have mastered what they are expected to do. That is, you need to know the assessment criteria. If you plan it carefully, you can gather a lot of information or data about one learner or about an entire group. For example, you could gather data from an observation checklist over a week. You can develop a yes-no checklist to test motor skills. Always keep your checklist simple so that you have a clear picture of your learner's performance by the end of the observation period. The checklist should be easy to understand and use. If data is collected for a week, teachers have a broad picture of how learners spend their time at school and what activities interest them. This provides information that gives insight into learners' behavior and helps you to plan the environment and your own activities. An example of a gross motor observation checklist is provided as an example. This checklist concentrates on gross motor behaviors. We could extend this list to observe learner behavior in more subjects. Let's think, during which subject, focus area, and content lesson can we use this rating scale to assess learner performance? Rating scales are like checklists. They are planned to record specific behavior. For example, you could rate your learner's ability to listen attentively. Rating scales could be used alongside your checklist to give your observations more depth and quality. For example, when you're observing listening behavior, you now have to decide how well or not your learners have listened. Rating scales involve recording not only the what and where, but the how as well. The teacher must determine all these elements. When you are developing a rating scale, try and use words such as always, usually, sometimes, and never, or a numerical key 1, 2, 3, and 4 to rate your learner's behavior. Objectivity is a challenge to keep in mind when you are rating your learner's performance. Try to remain objective. In the example here, the teacher is going to observe learning behavior using a rating scale as an assessment tool. She has decided to use a story. She will be observing her learners over a couple of weeks. The teacher decides on the categories and how the behavior is to be described. The same rating scale can also be used in a group setting. Let's think. During which subject, focus area, and content lesson can we use this rating scale to assess learner performance?